I could stay like this, forever following you. Just don't get too far, and I'll be right where you are. You're a dream that I could finally see. I just want us to always be, to always be.
Good morning and welcome to SEN Stream. Today we kick off with some module updates. We've got no less than 2 tweets of the week. We follow up with some of the mid-semester feedback responses. We take some questions and provide some answers in the chat. Guys, welcome to SEN Stream this morning. See you shortly. Guys, good morning to and welcome to episode, I believe that should say 19, not 18, but that's okay. Welcome. Busy week for you guys. You've had the opportunity to do your design study presentations, and hopefully you've had an opportunity to get some feedback on that. So before we carry on though, let's have a look who is on the chat this morning. Who are we going to say hello to? We've got Rebecca, good morning, welcome to SEN Stream. We've got Josh, good morning, welcome to SEN Stream. Antonia, good morning, and also Chloe. Chloe, I don't think you've said anything before. Good morning and welcome. Guys, let's make everyone feel welcome in the chat. So, we're going to start off and kick off with the the updates from the modules. So let's get straight into it. Okay, we're going to kick off with advanced performance nutrition. Now, before I kick off, again, if you've got any questions that relate to anything that I'm saying throughout, I'm going to take the opportunity to just transition across and just keep my eye on the chat. As always, I've got the chat open in the background. So I can always see what you guys are saying. So if a question does pop up, I can answer it straight away. So we're going to kick off with advanced performance nutrition. Now, Sinead was very keen on getting the formative submission put into the into advanced performance nutrition. So there is a portal for the formative assessment is available. So check it out ahead of your submissions. It's just a standard Turnitin submission. Obviously, there's no credit associated to this particular assessment. So you will have the opportunity to submit it and I will give some feedback. So for the feedback, I will take the opportunity to complete the rubric that you will see associated with that assessment, formative assessment, so you can get a rough idea of whereabouts you're sitting in terms of the grading. I will also take the opportunity to provide some in-text comments. And finally, Turnitin gives you the opportunity to give some audio feedback. So I get 3 minutes to give you my innermost feelings and thoughts on your submission. So I'm going to take the opportunity to do that as well. On the chat here, good to see that you're making everyone feel welcome. We've got Dana as well. Good morning, Dana. And we've got Ted coming in just a little bit late there, Ted. 8 minutes past. Come on, man. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see that we've got a good audience this morning. So, on Advanced Performance Nutrition, we've also had our first video exchange. So congratulations to Josh. I got an email pop up earlier this week saying Josh had submitted his video. Josh, I haven't had a chance to have a look at that yet, but great job in making sure that you've got that submitted to your partner early. If you are working on your interviews with your clients, great job. If you haven't started yet, you need a bit of advice, you're not quite sure where to start it off, get in touch with me directly and we can try and make sure that you've got someone to interview. Looking ahead to next week, we have Jane and Sanjoy, who's going to come and talk to you about preparing for extreme environments, whether that's the cold, the heat, altitude, and I think some saturation stuff I believe Sanjoy is going to get involved with as well. Sanjoy is going to kick off that session. It's a 2-parter, so you don't have to deal with me talking at you for 3 hours, which I believe is a thing. Then Jane is going to come in for the second part of the session and she's going to talk to you about the specific needs of athletic populations. So come across to that session and please get involved. It should be a good one. It's easier when you have two members of staff working on that session as well. So come along, get involved, ask some questions, I'll be there at the start of the session just to make sure that everything's going well on the module. If anyone's got any questions, please ask them now, and I can try and turn those up. Now, let's move it on to nutritional assessment. So, Claire has aimed to give, this week she gained a very real account of how complicated nutritional assessment data can be. Now, she's promised to add in a bit of summary to the Blackboard site. So she's asked me to prompt you to have a little bit of a consolidation session with regards to what you did this week with the A, B, C, D, E approach to nutritional assessment. Now, for SEN students specifically, she's asked me to prompt you to consider how glucose and insulin utilization is impacted by exercise. Now, this is from a physiological perspective, so consider muscles used, the intensity of the exercise, and the duration, and how that impacts on glucose disposal. So this is non-insulin mediated glucose disposal into the muscle. There's a really nice paper which I can share with Claire, actually, which gives you a bit of an oversight as to how that works. She's also asked you to think about the pre and post events / training dietary intakes, the quantity and quality of carbs that you are consuming. Now, thankfully, I've got some nice information on Tweet of the Week this week, which may help inform some of that stuff as well. So stay tuned and find out more about that later on in the stream. Finally, the last thing she's asked you to consider here is the consequences of glycemic control being a variable. So how does glucose homeostasis impact muscles, cognition, etc.? So muscular function and cognition. Again, this is a nice example of how we're trying to ensure that those joint modules are catering for you guys. So I know a lot of you were very keen to tell me that some of the specificity of the modules could be better. So again, having chatted with Claire and the other module leaders, we're trying to work on that now. So if you think this is a good idea, let us know. That would be fantastic. I've just seen in the chat, we've got a even later comer. Vicky, if you're doing a bit of sneaky at work on the second or third monitor, I don't know how involved your monitors are there, but welcome, good morning. Good to see you in the chat. As always, guys, any questions, let me know and I can try and answer them as we move ahead. So a little bit more information on nutritional assessment. Before I do that, I took the opportunity to download last week's video, and I'm starting to try and learn how to use Adobe Premiere Pro to edit the videos to make it look like all the cool kids on YouTube. Now, I get I'm not a cool kid by any stretch of the imagination, but at the same time, I was editing out every single time I said now or okay. Now, I'm going to ruin it for you because I say this a lot. So you may notice me trying to think about what I'm about to say so that I don't use these unnecessary fill words like okay, So I'm trying my best. Anyway, moving it on. Looking ahead to week 8, it says week 7 here, but it's because we're in week 7 now. But looking ahead to week 8, you have Regina and Jessica are covering a session on the subjective and objective markers of nutritional status. So this, I believe, is in 407 in the laboratories, and you'll get the opportunity to test your blood for glucose, lipids. I believe this is going to be blood pressure as well, and explore some of the observational symptoms of relevance. Now, Sarah's encouraged you here to come with questions for Jessica and Regina to help give some context to some of those measurements. You guys are in the nice position because you're doing the assessment of health and fitness that taking finger prick blood samples for blood glucose and lactate and lipids could be a walk in the park, but trying to put those into context of nutritional assessment and the wider picture will be an excellent opportunity. Again, if any of you are thinking of using finger prick blood sampling as part of your dissertation project, it's just another opportunity to get some extra hands-on with the equipment there. The final reminder Claire has asked me to slip in there. We're on the 8th of March just now. The coursework deadline is the 13th, March the 13th at 1 p.m. She's just reminded you that if you've got any last-minute burning questions ahead of the weekend, then you need to get them in quickly so she can help inform those questions. So let's move it on to assessment of health and fitness. Oh, I haven't updated these slides, which is a disaster. Just bear with me. I will get those open now. I apologize. I had someone in the studio this morning, asking me lots of questions about SenStream and how we can make it better. Let me just get Jane's email open, and then at least I have something intelligent to say about this. Okay, ignore what is. In fact, we're gonna ignore so much what's on the screen. We're gonna get rid of it. So Jane has asked me to tell you the following. So in terms of what's happening next week, the main thing, as everyone knows, is that you have the fitness testing session with your external clients. So everyone has been working really hard to get their lab skills up to scratch, and that's excellent. Again, like I said last week, Avoni was very complimentary and praising as to how people had got involved on that front. And Jane has informed me here that you've made exceptionally good progress from your lab skills from just a few weeks ago. So you will have now done all of the practice that you're going to do. So just make sure that all your forms and your paperwork that you plan to use on the day are ready to go, and everyone in the group is aware of that. And she's told me to tell you to relax and enjoy it. So get involved. Make sure that you're prepared ahead of the time. Everyone knows what they're doing. You've got your forms available, and everyone has had a chance to review those before you get to the session. So I think all it leaves me to say is just, well, good luck ahead of that testing session. It's a really practical, applied assessment that we're doing for you. So yeah, get involved. Good luck with it. If you've got any questions ahead of that, either ask now or pose them to Jane, and we can go from there. So let's politely move it on back to research methods for health sciences 2. So some updates from Teddy here. A step-by-step instruction for the design study presentation to VRE and report submission will be available on Blackboard. Now, I believe some advice and guidance was set round to the Global Public Health Nutrition students. I had a look at that advice, and I politely asked if it could be made available to everyone, just as an opportunity for you guys to see exactly what the process would be. Now that you've done your design study presentations, looking ahead towards your design study submission, please, please, please use the feedback that you got from the Tuesday session and the Wednesday session, and also the extra videos that I did for the students when I wasn't there, and use that information and integrate it into your design study submission. The whole point of the presentation is to ensure that the quality of what you're submitting is very good. So reflect on what you've been told and make sure you integrate it into your design study summative submission. Teddy has encouraged everyone to try and schedule an appointment with your supervisor to ensure that you are covering everything that you need to do for your ethics submission, that you've got your research questions, aims, and objectives, and you've really started to try and pin those down. So not just my students, but everyone who's doing their dissertation this year, please make sure that you schedule the opportunity to speak with your supervisor, whether that's via the phone, Google Hangouts, in person, whatever it is. Take the opportunity to speak to them so that you're very clear about what you're going to be submitting for your design study submission. Now, looking ahead to sessions later on in the semester for this module, he's asked me to tell you to read around the qualitative research interviewing approaches using the recommended reading for week 8, the week 8 lecture. So please do take the opportunity to do that. Now, I'm going to talk more comprehensively about this later on in the stream today, but I have contacted all of the module contributors for research methods for health sciences 2 to ensure that you guys are being considered in the content for those sessions. I'll talk more about that in a second. Let's move it on though. I think, dare I say it, we've done all the module updates. Yes, we have. So I'm going to head over to the chat. I don't believe we've got any questions, but usually when I put the chat up, suddenly people go, oh, maybe I should ask a question. So I can see here Magdalena has come in and joined us. It's late comers to the... I didn't get a notification this morning on my mobile device to tell me that SenStream had gone live. I don't know if anybody else did, but it's usually helpful to see that pops up. If you've subscribed to the channel, that is. If you haven't subscribed, click subscribe now, guys. But no questions in the chat so far. Again, if you do have any questions that refer to any specific modules, then please do let me know and we'll go from there. I'm going to transition back over to the tweet of the week this week. So here we have the tweet of the week. And we can see this is by a senior lecturer called Andy King, which I believe is from one of the Leeds universities, but I can't specifically remember which one, which is absolutely terrible. I'm going to go with I'm going to put Beckett. I think it's Beckett. But anyway, at Andy J. King, sorry. There's a lot of dose response carbohydrate stuff, which if anyone of you have had a conversation with me in the last 6 months, you'll probably know that I'm interested in that too. So he said here he's got a new paper out. For some of my dissertation students who are doing a project specifically on this, take a look at this paper because it's out in March, literally this week. Looking at different dose responses, but this time on the 80, 90, and 100 grams an hour kind of ingestion rate. Take the opportunity to have a look at this paper, even if you're not interested. Well, even if you're not doing that on your specifically for your research project, it will just help to add a little bit more super current knowledge with regards to carbohydrate ingestion. What happens? What's the fate of carbohydrates? Does it go to the liver? Does it go to the muscle, etc., etc.? So do take the opportunity to take a look at that. Now I've combined this with a second tweet of the week. Taking your guys' heads off with regards to current research that's taking place. A tweet here from Javier Gonzalez from the University of Bath. I believe I've mentioned Javier before. Super talented, sport and exercise physiologist. He said here, a fundamental principle for sporting nutrition is rapid muscle glycogen synthesis in the early phase, brackets 2 hours of recovery. Now he's redrawn some data here, which is nice. It shows the liver glycogen repletion rate is slower in the first 2 hours post-exercise and then speeds up. So we can see here, liver glycogen repletion kinetics display opposite responses to muscle. So the muscle here, super uptake in the first 2 hours and then slows down in the second. Liver, slightly slower uptake and then speeds up towards the second from 2 to 5 hours post-ingestion. Again, he's provided a link here to the original research paper, which was done in 2016. Just nice to give that context to muscle glycogen and liver glycogen resynthesis, because we know that that is a current hot topic within the carbohydrate feeding world. I'm going to move it on. Just had a quick look at the chat. No questions as yet, so that's great. Now, dissertation watch, keeping you on track. Not quite Lawai, but, you know, Kiot is what we're going to go for. So, I'm basing this pretty much on the advice and guidance that Teddy has given out on research methods for health sciences too. So again, please just, if you're not sure what you're supposed to be doing on your dissertation right now, my advice is to solidify the feedback that you got from your supervisor in the design study presentations, arrange an appointment with them, and make sure that you follow up with the advice and guidance that was given. Some other advice I would start to suggest, if you're going to be doing a research project in the laboratories on the 4th floor, I'd probably get the opportunity to go and introduce yourself to Helen Lloyd, who's the laboratory manager up there. Helen's going to be the person who is going to do your laboratory bookings, ensure that kit's available, all that sort of carry on. So if you're doing a project in the laboratories, go and say hello to Helen, introduce yourself, and tell her what it is you're planning on doing. It's going to help for Helen to kind of visualize and picture who it is that you are and what type of project you're doing and what your requirements are going to be for your project. So please go and introduce yourself, say hello to it. When you come out of the lifts, or more specifically the stairs, because you're a sport and exercise nutrition student who's hitting stories of stairs on a day-to-day basis, as you go around the corner towards the 4th floor laboratories, there's a little office of where you will see Helen and Burak. Knock on the door, say, "Hi Helen, Mike's told me to come and say hello to you. I'm going to be doing a research project over the summer, or into the summer, which is on this. Likelihood is I'll be using this type of equipment." And that will just sort of allow Helen to see your face, know who you are, and expect bookings moving forwards. The other thing, I've asked Teddy to put up a document, and I emailed him this morning. I'm just going to have a quick look in my emails to see if he's responded. Oh, I think he has. Okay. There is a document which is I'm going to make available to you guys, which gives you the process of which you need to undertake for things like bringing up an external client onto campus who's not a student, doesn't have an access card, how to book a laboratory, how to use the calendar and the booking system, how to book out specific pieces of equipment, all of the nitty-gritty logistics stuff just that's been put together by Helen and her team to make sure that you guys are aligning with how that stuff works. I'm going to make that available on the Research Methods for Health Sciences 2 Blackboard site. And if you are doing a project in laboratories, you need to read that document. So I'll put an announcement out. I'll put a a link to the file so that you guys can start to familiarize yourself from there. The final thing to say here, in the coming week or two, I will be putting out a Google form, which is equipment I plan to use for my dissertation project. This will be a very short Google form with just check boxes with all of the different pieces of equipment that we have available in the laboratories. As long as you click the click box to say I'm using the bod pod, I want to use the resting metabolic rate assessment, I want to use a heart rate monitor, the scales, a stadiometer, whatever it is, please make sure that you fill that in so that Helen then knows where the pinch points are going to be for different specific pieces of equipment. Because once we know what those pinch points are, we can then either recommend for some students they use different pieces of equipment, or to inform those students that they need to be proactive in their bookings to make sure that the equipment that they need is available. So I will make it very explicitly clear as to what that is, where it is, and where you can find it. It will help our technical support team make sure that your project is suitably supported as we move forward. Now, before I move on, I'm going to head back over to the chat. Here we, oh, wow. I'm staggered a question from Chloe. She comes in and barges away in all the questions. Right, can we use the same participant for the APN video submission that we used for Sanjoy's module last semester? I see no reason why you can't do that. Ultimately, you're going to be swapping your video with your video partner anyway, and it's more of just an information collection process. So if that's the person that you have access to and you feel like they meet the criteria, so physically active or undertaking like regular sport, I don't see any reason why you couldn't do that, Chloe. Again, just because we've touched on that just then, I think if anyone is struggling for a client, please get in touch with me directly and I can start trying to put you in contact with various different places through different people that I know to ensure that you actually get someone worth interviewing. If you are struggling, I know some of you, especially if you come from abroad, you don't necessarily have those big kind of social networks to kind of rely on to getting participants. So please let me know if that's a problem and I can try and help do something about it. Hopefully that's answered your question, Chloe. Okay, back over to our slides. This is becoming a bit of a surprise because I can't remember what it is. Okay, yes, when is my exam? Now, first of all, a big and huge thank you to Hannah for passing this on. She was weeks ahead of me saying, you know, I found out that the provisional, and that's a key word here, provisional exam timetable is going to be released on the 7th, and then she followed it up and sent me a link with the PDF on it and everything as to when the scheduled provisional timetable is. This is organization beyond my comprehension, so thank you very much for doing that. If we have a little sneaky down here, let me make it big so everyone can see it. We can see here now, again, I feel like I have to read this out. This timetable is provisional and exam dates times may change prior to the publication of the final exams timetable. The final exams timetable will be published on the Student Hub and directly on your CMIS Go timetable on Thursday the 28th of March. Please ensure that you check the timetable carefully. Now I'm actually in the way here, so I'm going to shuffle. Here we go. We can see here. This is us. 7th of May. 6 till 8, 2 hours, 7 HMNT 021, Advanced Performance Nutrition. Now, I've never had an exam in the university that's been at this time of day. I was kind of thinking, is this a problem? Now, do let me know if it is, but I suspect this isn't going to change. Positives. Your core body temperature is going to be optimal. So most world records are achieved somewhere between 6 and 10 o'clock in the evening because your body temperature is at its highest point just because of the normal circadian rhythms. Now, if we translate that into the exam performance, I feel like you guys are not going to be able to do better than between 6 and 8 o'clock in the evening. So that's a positive. Similarly, if you're working on that particular day, you might be able to reduce the time of your shift, book a day off so that you can prep, or you could do your shift and come bite straight into it. So it's having minimal impact on your lives. I do appreciate, though, that this is outwits of the normal day-to-day time. You're not on your own, though. You'll be in a room with someone who's doing an advanced cell biology exam, diagnostic biochemistry and hematology, science, technology, and commercialization, and discourse across time. Out of all of those exams, I think we're going to be doing all right with the advanced performance nutrition one. So there it is. That currently provisionally on the 7th of May between 6 and 8 o'clock. Hopefully you've given me your thoughts and feelings on the on that in the chat. Please do let them be known. I don't choose these times. They're told. I'm told when this is. But if it becomes a huge problem for everyone, I'm not sure if I could say something to say, well, actually, no. But at the moment, that's when it is. Check out Thursday the 28th of March for the confirmed, absolute, not going to change timetable from there. Let's move it on. Okay. Now we're going to go back to the other screen. Now, I got 12 responses, I think, for the mid-semester feedback form, which is not bad, actually. I could have done with a few more just to make sure that the whole sample is representative, but thank you to the 12 people who did take the opportunity to provide their thoughts and feelings on the course so far. So some actions. The whole point of the feedback is so that we can do something about it, and I've thankfully have gone about doing something about that. So again, the first action that I took was to contact all of the session leaders on the Research Methods for Health Sciences 2 module and ask them to ensure that the sessions are accommodating for the SEN crowd. So I politely reminded them that there was 22 students on that module that were taking the sport and exercise nutrition pathway and that they need to be accounted for. Now, the course reps, so Ted, Evie, Sinead, and Francesca, were CC'd into this email, so they saw it. If you want to see it, ask one of them to see it as to exactly what was said. I haven't had any responses from those session leaders as yet, but I'm going to follow it up just to make sure that the email has been read, understood, and appreciated, and even go as far to ask them what they plan to do about it, which would be excellent. The second action that I've taken so far as well is I collated all of the feedback that you guys submitted into a PDF document, and I then circulated that to all of the module leaders. So they've seen every single response that was submitted via the Google form, even the ratings, what they thought, just all of the feedback. Again, it's completely anonymous, so they get a snapshot of what you guys are thinking so that they can then reflect on their practice and maybe take that on board. The final thing to say is the course reps have been taking some time to collate the responses. So I know Sinead and Evie have taken the time to kind of put together what they feel as a student in the course rep and from conversation that you guys have had alongside the mid-semester feedback as to what they feel the most pressing issues are. Now, I haven't asked these guys yet, but I'm going to invite folk in like we did last semester to SenStream so we can have a bit of a chat about it. So that we can ensure that your feedback is being taken on board. It'd be great to see in the chat what you guys think of that process. If there's anything, that you guys feel needs to be added onto that, do let me know. Again, I read the chat, guys, so if you have anything to say, please do say it now, and we can go from there. So hopefully you can see we're acting on the feedback to try and enhance the quality of the course. If you've got any further suggestions, please do let me know, and we can go from there. Now, I'm down to the chat, folks. I've rattled through it today. My word, we started late, but my word, have we finished early. So let me head over to the chat. Again, if you've got any burning questions, guys, now is your moment. Chloe. I have someone who's super keen bean and happy to do it again. Cheers! Exclamation mark. Excellent. Good to know. I don't know how many people are watching at the moment because I don't have the live stream stats on just to make sure that the whole thing runs smoothly. But I hope everyone has gotten well. I know Josh is well ahead of the curve. He's got his video submitted. Bish bash bosh done. Again, if you are struggling for rooms or places to do your interviews, or need some kit, whatever it is, let me know. I can try and help with that. Again, Helen can do a room booking to try and help with that as well, just to get you guys and make sure that you've got an appropriate space to use for your interviews. Josh, it says 9 people are watching at the moment. Welcome. I think we're hitting some new stats. New Henny Heights, here we go. A quick one on feedback. Jane asked us to fill out the module feedback form yesterday, but actually brought the 1-1, so couldn't. This seems a little early to me. So this will be the semester module evaluation forms, which is... So the SME forms are those... they're like this. They're automatic scanning forms. So what happens with those, just to give you a little bit of insight as to how this goes. The semester module evaluation forms collate and gives top level statistics for each module. So once you guys put those into the envelope, that envelope is sealed. That envelope is then sent off to the Quality and Standards Office at the university. They scan all the results in, and then they give you an average score for your module. And then they use the same forms every single year, so you can see how the student perspective changes on a year-to-year basis. And essentially everything's scored out of 5. So if you think I can't remember the exact categories, but basically all of them are scanned in. We then get an average score, and then all of the written comments that you leave on the bottom of the module evaluation form get scanned into that as well. Then we get a PDF form which collates all that information and gives you what the students thought of your module. Now, that's an internal process. I ask all of the module leaders on the SEN side of things to upload their reports onto the external examiner section of the Blackboard site, so the external examiner can see what you guys actually thought of the module as well. Now, don't get me, I also use those statistics as the course leader in my course leaders report for the year. So I tend to give the top level statistics of the overall satisfaction when the module was 4.2 out of 5, something along those lines. Yes, Tread, I think you are correct. There is still a lot more of the module to go. So I'll speak with... The reason maybe Jane has put these out so far is because they were dropped into our pigeonholes this week. So I've got the 3 modules that I'm leading at the moment, which I need to distribute out. But essentially, I can kind of feed back to Jane and say, maybe we should wait till week 10 or 11. Some module leaders are quite keen to ensure that those module feedback forms are available as early as possible, because we tend to see student attendance drop off towards the end of the module. I'm not sure why, particularly on the undergraduate courses, that happens. So usually module leaders are very keen to ensure that the feedback forms are available as soon as possible to give you the maximum amount of chance to capture everyone on the module. Sometimes if you have low attendance, your results can be skewed a little bit because it's not reflective of everyone that's on the module itself. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight as to how we use those forms, what kinds of feedback that we get as a result of you filling them in. Again, they only go out of the university via towards the external examiner. And it's more of like an enrichment sort of... I use them quite a lot because it tells me exactly what you guys think. I use the mid-semester feedback form to try and make sure that we can try and improve the quality of our student module evaluation forms by acting on the feedback, so that you guys can see that we're actually doing something about the issues that we find on the course. If we don't ask you, we can't do anything about it. So that's how we tend to do it. So yeah, a lot of the feedback that you've given in the mid-semester feedback form can be captured more succinctly and will have more of an impact if you also include that type of feedback on your module evaluation forms as well. So do take the opportunity to do that when you get the forms released to you. Hopefully that makes sense. I know you guys are on about a 20-second delay from when I speak to when chat actually comes in. So I will hang around a little bit just to make sure there's nothing else going on. Just again, feel free to... I'm going to ask a question. Some responses in the chat would be great. How did people find the design study presentations? I saw, obviously, the Wednesday session because I was due to be there. Hopefully, if you were in the Wednesday session, you would have now received a feedback video where I watched it and then paused it and said hopefully something intelligent as we went through. But yeah, how did people find it? Useful? Would they do it again? How do you think you're going to integrate your feedback into your design study submission? I'm going to pause here just to see who's brave enough to respond. There we go. Rebecca, straight in with a response. Very helpful. Good. I'm very pleased. I was working from home yesterday simply because I'm not very well. And by the Shavazier got the tail end of essentially the whole day's worth of recording videos. And I can only apologize, Shavazier, because I think I was a little bit to the point with some of the feedback that I gave with you. And also my voice was basically not working by this point. I'm trying to think who the first person was that I watched. Alex. I think Alex got the kindest kind of feedback. Then Chloe. Chloe, it took me 4 attempts to record yours, which was because I kept pressing spacebar at the wrong time. Nightmare. Antonia, I think the design study presentation was very helpful, but found it hard to figure out what was most relevant to mention in the 5 minutes. Yeah, I get that. I think looking ahead to next year, I'll be asking the research methods for health sciences to module leader to make sure that those are bumped up to 10 minutes. Again, I've said this before. I have no issues saying this. The reason it was brought down to 5 was because of the student numbers on the GPHN side. That's why I scheduled 15 minutes to make sure that you guys got more feedback. Josh, very useful to get a few comments on our ideas and some different perspectives. Excellent. I think you now know where you need to focus your efforts, so kind of bringing it down from that top level and really narrowing it in. Ted, I thought it was useful to bring everything together and collate things for the design study. Excellent. Dana, was really useful. 2 exclamation marks. Excellent. Good. That's what it's there for. Minimal effort gets you trying to order and line up that information. You've got 2 weeks now to act on the feedback that you've got. I listened to all the feedback from the other supervisors in the room, so Claire and Rumi on the session that I was in, and it was actually quite useful for me as well to kind of get their perception. Again, Claire thinking about things in a completely different way to I do, particularly with your feedback, Ted. I think she taking on some of Claire's feedback with regards to the actual application of which polyphenols or phytochemicals we use is actually going to be really useful. So yeah, excellent. Well, I'm glad you guys found it helpful. Antonia, I also thought it was very helpful to get feedback and other ideas from students. What amazing. I did hear Alex asked a lot of questions during the session, which I thought was excellent actually. In previous years we've had students kind of wandering in and out. I'll do my bit and then leave. But in actual fact, you get a lot of benefit from seeing other people's designs, the different methodologies that they're using and how they're using the equipment in the labs as well, for different purposes. So yeah, again, I'm glad you guys found it beneficial, and hopefully advice and guidance that we gave to you in the lead up to that is going to help. So next week, I'll focus a little bit more on the guidance document for the design study presentation. So make sure that you're chipping away at that. But I'll take the opportunity next week to have a look at what you guys are being asked to do and try and narrow that down a little bit. So hopefully you'll find that useful. Also, I think I'm going to try and get a member of staff in in fact, let's get some feedback on this as to who you would want to come in. I want to try and get a member of staff in next week to do an assessment interview. Now, I can't interview myself. And I'm not I could maybe do some weird mirrored thing, but it's very, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But out of Jane, Claire, and Teddy, if I was to bring a member of staff in to have a bit of a chat about their module, who would you prefer that to be? And I can approach them first to try and get a little bit more insights to some of the assessments on their module. So stick a preference in there, guys, into the chat, and I can try and approach that member of staff to get them into SENstream and have a bit of a chat with them. Then you guys can use the online chat function like we did last semester and have a chance to ask some questions. So preferences in the chat if you wouldn't mind. Okay, Rebecca's come in. Preference would be Teddy, Chloe, maybe Teddy for the design study. Anybody else with any preferences? Okay, yeah, Josh, Teddy. Okay. I mean, that's 3 out of 22 potential people to answer there, but that's fine. I know not everyone watches, so if anyone has any other preference, let me know. I can ask Teddy, see what he says. He hasn't done SEN stream before. Maybe that's a good reason why he should do it. So I'll check if he's available. If he is, we'll get him in. We'll have the opportunity to have a chat with him, and then we can go from there. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to call it a day there. Engagement today was fantastic. I think I need to have a look at the settings to make sure that the lag and the latency isn't quite as bad, because I think, like I say, you guys are about 20 seconds, 30 seconds behind me actually talking and then you seeing it and being able to respond. So I will look into that for more engaging sessions in the future. But nevertheless, thank you very much for watching. It's been a good episode this week, I think. We'll look ahead to next week. We'll try and get some of the course reps in if they're available and want to come in to talk about the feedback. And we'll also have Teddy available as well. Maybe if the course reps could be there to ask some questions, I'm not sure, but we'll see how that plays out. But thank you very much for watching. Take it easy, have a good weekend, and we will see you next week.